I say with the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe Marash. But the Rebbe Marash also Rebbe Marash once was going on a train in Russia. And in those days, there wasn't heat on trains. I mean, there were trains before. Heat is sicher nicht gewesen. So in the winter, it's not push to that. What would they do? They would stop every couple of stations. Everybody would get off the train, go into the station. And the station would be a big samovar, and hot water, whatever. And they'd drink, changvaren into this, and then after a while, they would get back on the train and fighting fun. The Rebbe Marash didn't want to drink from the samovar in the station. That I saw, long after the story, but I saw talking, brought down, but the Rebbe Shvasedim used to take a new hanhoge for Rosh Hashanah every year, a naya hidder. Like 1 year it says that he took a hidder not to drink from a public samovar. So that's bestimmte Meise. Anyways. So he asked if there's a Said near the station where, they told me, yeah, there's a tailor right next to the station. So the Rebbe went in together, whoever it was with him, and came to his house. It goes far that something put on the table, more than just a mistake. I don't know how much time till the train was supposed to leave and gave right there, and the Rebbe Marash said, let the train go, stay here. Goodbye. No, the townspeople heard that the Previous Rebbe is here, and from all sides, everybody came to the tailor's house to see the Rebbe. Evidently, Bracht or whatever it was, but it's a Granatumu. This town had a military governor. His job was to make sure that there should be no revolutions and something's going on. He has to find out what it is. And the Herta Maisim Rabbi that is here in this town, and then the Yidden are all coming there. He went to investigate himself. He comes into the house and he sees that Rebbe Marash is sitting on, sitting around him, and townspeople. We don't have pictures of the Rebbe Marash, but what we know is that the Rebbe Marash had a very Malchus de Ketzir. It's like a very so maybe I should that was a movie. Anyways, good. So he comes in, he sees what's going on. So he says, he comes over to the, he says, what are you doing here? So the Rebbe Marash said to him, I don't know. The only thing I know is that Eid, that doesn't allow into his head things that you shouldn't think. And it only lets into his head things that you should think. Like the Rebbe Marash, as if he might talk like my father, it's sympathetic. So Eid like that knows that if a machshava, if a thought falls into his head, there's a reason for it. Because I don't know why the machshava fell into my head, but I decided to stay there. Maybe someday I will know, maybe not. The one thing was sure is that there wasn't about to have a revolution happening there. That he saw already. A short while passed. It was time the next train. And the Rebbe Marash went to the next train. Years passed by. This military governor was a Cantonist. He was from those children that were kidnapped, Yiddish children that were kidnapped by Nikolai and impressed into the Tsar's army for 25 years, a minimum. And he was one of these children. And he was evidently a smart kid. And as time went by, he progressed in the Russian army higher and higher. And as years went by, he completely, entirely forgot. But the ganze Meister was Tayyid and Stam, who was like, and until it came time that he was to be promoted to become a general. So his commanding officer calls him in, and he says that you're up for promotion to become a general. But to be a general in the Tsar's army, it can't be either. Okay. The only thing is, it's by in your file, it's written that stay. So I know we know that you have nothing to do with Eden, but just have to undergo the ceremony and chit-chat. And he was about to say, yeah, Taka. You know what? Let me think about it. Went back on, it bothered him more than whether he should or he shouldn't bother him. Why is it bothering him? Taka say, what's the problem? Aber. And then all of a sudden, reminded himself what happened years earlier. The Maisa that the Previous Rebbe was in town and he saw him, and he remembered the feeling that he had when he came into the Rebbe Marash, into the Rebbe's house. He has to go to see them. He picked himself up and he went off to the Marash. And he came into the Rebbe Marash and he said, Previous Rebbe, he said, you remember you were in such and such a town so many years ago? You didn't know why you were there. Now you know why you're there. I'm telling you, Herschel, I had absolutely no idea what's a chluda. I come to a year in Yisroel that's filled with chassidim anshe Maisa. Mit Farbrengen is Weltbarim Farbrengen. It's nicht Sammels, they does. And I don't know what am I going to tell them already? It's like, was habe ich schon zu geben? Na was? Dir ist eingefallen in den Kopf, mir zu rufen. Okay, so maybe someday you'll find out why I came. But anyways, everybody knows what the Baal Shem Tov said. Avu ha'id gefinsach, that's hashgacha pratis. But what he does there, that's b'chira chavshis. B'meila, I hope I'll do the right thing. L'chaim. Diddy-da-da-da-dam, li-da-la-da-da-da-da-dam, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-dam, di-da-la-la-la-la-la-da-ya-la-da-la-la-la-lam, da-la-da-ya-la-la-ya-la-dam, ah-la-la.
Wait, listen.
Okay, gotcha. Yes, I know. And then my Tanya class definitely does. Ha da da la la ya la da ya la la ha ya da 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 oh la la ya la la ya. Next Shabbos or my Shabbos? Da 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 la da 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 la da ya la da da la 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 hey la la ya la la ay ya la la ay ya la la ay la la ay la la Ay, 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 la, la, ya, la, la, ya, la, la. La, 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 ya, la. Five. Yud Shvat, Tafshin Yudalet. That means Yud Shvat 1954. So it's the third Farbrengen of Yud Shvat. The Rebbe spoke a sicha. I don't want to say a well-known sicha. If you know the sicha, so you know the sicha. If you don't know the sicha, and I say it's a well-known sicha, so you're going to think, oh, so what's the matter with me that I don't know about it? So some people do know the sicha, some people don't know the sicha. I'm going to tell you what the sicha is. I hope most don't, because I'll probably fakatch the sicha. So at least you won't realize how much I fakatch. I don't know how to translate fakatch. Anyways, the Rebbe asked the question, why is it that none of the Rabbeim, the Eyalim, resting places, all of the Rabbeim, not one of them is in Eretz Yisrael. All of the Rabbeim are in Chutz La'aretz. Everything we know about the Milas of Yisrael, and it's not just the Milas of Eretz, I mean, this is the same point, like the Rebbe almost alludes to it, that like it's not to be in Eretz Yisrael is not a good thing. Buried other than in Eretz Yisrael is nicht, it's not a good thing. And nevertheless, the Rebbe says the oil is here, it's not in Eretz Yisrael. How you talk? And the Rebbe gave two explanations, two answers. One answer he gave al pinigla, a sort of a halachic explanation. And the second explanation, the pnimis enyanim, the real, the inner explanation. In other words, the halachic explanation is a good, I'll very briefly, the Rebbe says, the Rebbe explains like this. He says, Ba'atzem, in truth, the Eil really is in Eretz Yisrael. Min hadin. In other words, halachically, the Eil has the din of Eretz Yisrael. She says there's a din of Eretz Yisrael. So the Rebbe said like this, there is a halacha, it's a Mishnah actually. Rambam, we learned it not long ago, that we have a situation where you have somebody's not alive in a house, and the house has several doorways. So the halacha is that not only is the house not tahor, but all of the doorways are also not. Why? Because it's possible that, however, let's say all of the doorways are susum, are closed, and only one doorway is open, and all of the doorways are tahor. Only the doorway that is open, that doorway already has the din. Even though it's not in the house, it's the doorway. But since it's a davar border, it's absolutely certain that the rest is going to be taken out through that doorway. So that doorway already in advance, Chazal kaveh its stomach. Now, the Rebbe said like this: we have a rule, principle in Torah, that meruba mida teva, mida pramis, meruba mida kedusha, mida, that kedusha, goodness, is more powerful than its opposite. So if you have a principle in the opposite of kedusha, in the opposite of tara, tuma, then certainly when it comes to its its opposite effect. In Kedusha, certainly it has that same concept in principle. Chazal, our sages tell us, the Gemara says, that the tzaddikim are asidin lokum, by Tchias HaMesim, that the tzaddikim are going to get up in Eretz Yisrael. What about the tzaddikim that are not buried in Eretz Yisrael? What's going to be with them? Mara says that also the Kaddish Baruch Hu Lasis and Chilas Tachas, the Abish is going to make tunnels from the ground, from the place where they are, to Eretz Yisrael. Go through those tunnels to Eretz Yisrael and go come stand up at Yud Shvat in Eretz Yisrael.
I used to say
In
that
other
most
words,
times.
what an effect is it?
You know why? Why?
By the resting place of a tzaddik is an opening, even though Begeder it's not yet there, but we know it is madach when it comes to the din of in Pluma. We say even before it happens, since it's going to happen, it already has that Geder, it already has that rule. That it already is as if it is alachas kama v'kama when it comes to Kedusha, certainly even before it actually happens, even before Tchias HaMeisim, already it's a Pesach to Eretz Yisrael, and it has already the Geder of Eretz Yisrael. By the Pesach to Abayis, it's already like the Bayis, the Pesach to Eretz Yisrael is certainly like Eretz Yisrael, but Mela, it's taka, the Eil is taka in Eretz Yisrael. So when you go to the Eil, maybe you need to have visas, advice, that's not Eretz Yisrael, that's Israel. And that's the explanation the Rebbe gave up to Nigla. Then the Rebbe said, "Be'etzem, b'pnimis ha'inyanim, aber far." I mean, says somebody once came. They say that the Rabbi one. Somebody came to ask him a bracha. So the Rabbi says, "What are you asking a bracha from me for? What am I, Rebbe? What do I need a bracha from you?" He says to his haste. Chazal say, "Birchas hedyet kal beinecha." But birchas hedyet shouldn't be kal beinecha. That even a simple person's bracha shouldn't be a something that you should. What happened to my English? Okay, you shouldn't look down at even the bracha of a hedyet. Just kal v'chaimer, the Rosh Hashiva, the Gaon, the Rebbe. So the Rabbi said to him, he says, "What do you need to get a bracha from me with a kal v'chaimer if you can get a bracha from yourself without a kal v'chaimer?" So take it straight. What do we need to have the whole long this? The Zol Zayin Eretz Yisrael finished. So they've explained the Previous Rebbe, in truth, the reason why the Eil is here, not in Eretz Yisrael, so the Eil should be close. Lashon Rebbe. As in a kurze Zeit, so that in a short time, he should be able to come to the Eil. Why is it important that he should be able to come to the Eil in a short time? Because just the very knowledge that you can come to the Eil in a short time, that already is enough to give the person the power and the ability to overcome all of the blandishments of the Yetzer Hara. Because you could tell the Yetzer Hara, if you're not going to fizach ma'aseh mensch, again, ma'aseh mensch, if you're not going to leave me alone, I'm going to schlep you to the Eil, and boom, and there already is already. Why? Because in a short time you can come to the Eil. Rebbe says you didn't have to go to the Eil. Just knowing that you could go to the Eil in a short time, it's like pas pisali. It's like you have already your sandwich in your briefcase. You don't get hungry if you have a sandwich in your briefcase. I say you're hungry. No. You don't have a sandwich in your briefcase. You get hungry right away. You have it. You can a whole day long. You're not to bother because you can take the same thing. Just knowing that he can come to the Eil in a short time is pas pisali, and he doesn't have to worry, and it'll give him the power and the ability to overcome kol p'tuya yetzer. And that's why the Eil is in Chutz La'aretz, here and not in Eretz Yisrael, so that he should be able to come to the Eil. It should be close. Should be able to come to the Eil in short. That more or less is the Nakud of the Sicha, and no one is saying no. So either no one learned Sicha or those that did. More or less, that's the Teichen of the Sicha. And on that, I have Pashut HaKlotzkash. I remember reading about it. It's a soldier, and in the army, this was in war. It's a Jewish soldier from Brooklyn. He was at an army base somewhere in Oklahoma. And somebody else, he says, where are you from? And he says, I'm from Nebraska. So he says, look, that's so far away. He says, far away from where? If you're so far away. The Ayl is close. To whom is it close? Yeah, from Muncie, the Ayl is an hour and a half. The ways works. From Stanford, an hour. Crown Heights, but it's like even from California, it's 5.5 hours. It's 5.5 hours to Kennedy, and then another hour in the traffic. But okay, 6 hours. Well, what about if you live in Eretz Yisrael? Why is the oil here, not in Eretz Yisrael? Should be close. For whom? Taka for us, you can say close. Now, exactly how it was in Hoshem Yudalid, I remember even. I have no idea. I mean, I could find out. But one thing is for sure: the Divrei Tzadikim and Mitzvah. The Rebbe said the oil should be closed. The Rebbe is talking about today. Yud Shvat, days. The oil is here, and not in Eretz Yisrael should be closed. Factually, though, today, the oil was in Eretz Yisrael. It would take a bit close for most Yidden. There's more Yidden in Eretz Yisrael than anywhere else in the world today. Add to them all of the Yidden in Russia and all the Yidden in Europe, and I could say that the Reiv HaMuchlet of Yidden are closer to Eretz Yisrael than to Chutz La'aretz, than to Queens. So what's pshat? The oil is here in Queens, and the oil is not in Eretz Yisrael. Today it should be close because a Yid should know that it can be able to come to the oil in a short time. It will be shorter to come to the oil right in Eretz Yisrael if the oil is in Eretz Yisrael. That's what's coming. Now, from here on further, I have to be madgish. At this point, I'm sort of like going off the reservation. Ich sag, b'derech efshe. Like, perhaps, this is pshat in the thing. Chazal say, or Rashi brings it down, just from in the last, from Bereshis till today, till some 6 times Rashi says, that Eretz Yisrael's Mikan Eretz Yisrael Gevei Mikol Haaretz. Eretz Yisrael's higher than anywhere else in the whole world. That's just Vayal. Always goes up there with Vayal. Mikan Eretz Yisrael Gevei Mikol Haaretz. Eretz Yisrael's higher than everything else. Now I don't know who here was ever in Eretz Yisrael, but most people know something about Eretz Yisrael. 2 things I want. First thing, that something unique about Eretz Yisrael. We're talking about its height, its geographical height. And its unique characteristic in terms of where it is in the scale of the scheme of things. So the one unique characteristic that Yisrael has vis-a-vis geographic height is that Yisrael has the lowest place in the world, not the highest place in the world. The lowest place in the world is in Yisrael, by the Yam HaMelech. So I mean, even if you go on top of Har Chermen, okay, which is not very good, and it's snow there even all the way. But it's a Mount Everest. So what should Gevei Mikol Haaretz? You don't have to be a genius to figure out what. There's 2 explanations. The simple explanation is question Gevei Mikol Haaretz is question Beruchnius. It's the holiest place in the world. It's the holiest place in the world. It's higher. And we look at the globe. So we take the globe, we look at it. So what's the North Pole's over here, the South Pole's over here, and it falls in the middle. That's the way we look at it, but that's not really the way the globe works. The way the globe works is that not going to make us because we're both, according to the globe that they teach us in school, both on the same side. But the real globe is like this. So Yisrael's on the top. I don't know what's over here. We're over here underneath. Right? So tougher. In that respect. But we don't, I mean, that from space, maybe, we look at it right. But why Taka does the globe this way and not this way? Obviously, because Eretz Yisrael is the holiest place. That's the whole point is here. It's especially the holiest place in the world. Now, if that's the holiest place in the world, Eretz HaKodesh. I mean, we also say Monsir HaKodesh. I mean, that's like, the very fact that you can say Monsir HaKodesh means that we have absolutely no perception of what we mean when we talk and say Eretz HaKodesh. Anybody was ever in Eretz Yisrael, I mean, you come to Eretz Yisrael, I remember the old days, you would come to Eretz Yisrael, you would get off the plane in the airport, and the first feeling of Eretz Yisrael, the ruach of Eretz Yisrael, would be the benzene, the kerosene, and the filthy air. Today, it's already very fancy. Now you get off the plane, feel taka the kedusha. I see the first sneezdik advertisement on the posters on the wall. Oh, you just kedusha. And the truth is that you come to Eretz Yisrael, you go out all the way to Yerushalayim, and you come till to Ira Atika, until the Mokam HaMikdash, and stand mamish liyad Tzvi Beis Mikdashenu by the Kaisel HaMaravi on Yom Tov. And what do you say? We're not galina. We're not saying you're standing next to the Beis HaMikdash. What kind of galina? Because we're not in Eretz Yisrael. That is not Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, it's Israel. It's Take Eretz Hashem Al-Kechaba. Hashem's eyes are on it from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and it's ours. And alle gute Sachen. But are we there? No. Get to Eretz Yisrael. To get to Eretz Yisrael, to get to really to Eretz Yisrael, that's not flat. It's you can't get there. You pay a lala $900 and boom, you're in Eretz Yisrael. With $900, you can't get to Eretz Yisrael. You want to get to Eretz Yisrael? Avraham Avinu had to go up to get to Eretz Yisrael. So Avraham Avinu went up to Eretz Yisrael. He was nis'ala b'kedusha. Avraham Avinu was nis'ala b'kedusha. He went up in kedusha, in holiness. And how do you go up in holiness? Not with a donkey, not with a camel. You go up in holiness. You go, or even with an airplane. In holiness, you go up with work, with yigia, with effort, with work, with learning, with davening, with mitzvahs, with this kafir, with this apika. It's an incredible effort to be able to come outside. You can come to Eretz Yisrael, but to get there takes time. That takes time. When I was in Eretz Yisrael in Yeshiva, so there was Yeshiva and Chabad, and then there was also, today it's called Eretz Communion. Then it didn't have a name, I don't remember whatever it was. It was Rabbi Gafni. It's Rabbi Gafni. Well, it's Yisroel. Yid Tzadik. And he had this yeshiva. He was the Rosh Yeshiva, whatever. I mean, with others also might give a share there. The Bali Tshuva for students, college students that came to them. This Gafni, he would every year, a month, pick himself up, and he would go off to the army to Miluim. Every year. Hopefully, until I guess he came out. And I was in Yeshiva then, and he had that month he was going through, so they needed somebody to do the shiur. So I was asked to give the shirchsids, not because I had a name as a Maskell or a Ivid or a Chassidus. I imagine it's only because when the Israelis thought I spoke English very well. So actually, yeah, I had to give a shiur. It's because I had to give the shiur, so I had like an hour off Seder Nigla, prepare the shiur. And I remember it was Mamish eating the second, whatever it was, wearing the Maimer and data. Comes to a piece of the Maimer, it's brought down, Alter Rebbe's done more than one place. In quite a few places. See this, it's brought down. The Rebbe writes that Kaya Charatzen, the ability to opposed to the other faculties of the nefesh, like chokhmah, seichel, sight, this, that all are in various parts of the body. Seichel, intellect is in your brain. Sight, to see is in your eye. Shmiya, to be able to hear is in your ear. Misha, able to feel, fingers, etc. Every keach, every faculty has its own place in the body, as opposed to keach haratzim, the faculty of will, the ability to have will, ratzin. So ratzin not ever writes. Chiddush it says many places. Keach haratzim is not in any specific part of the body, but it's b'chol haguf b'shaveh. It's in the entire body equally. Araya, the Rebbe says, the moment he wants to move his foot, it moves instantly. Why? Because the kecharatz is in the foot, like it's in the head and like it's in the hand. But maybe it doesn't take any time. I learned that Inyan probably 20 times before, over, and it never, and it never occurred to me to ask. Simple Jews, but when both retired around the same time. I'm not going to tell you what their particular profession is because I'm going to figure out who they are, and I don't know whose anical is sitting here or not, so I'm not going to go there. But Akapanim, what do you do after you retire? And what do? You sit in 770, you learn. And these two, you used to sit in 770 all day long. I remember see them with Tetera. They're sitting there. So somebody once overheard a conversation between one and the other as a furniture. I came to a piece in the Maimer. It says, Reiv Kader Haaretz is Mayim. Most of the world, most of the globe is water. One says, what? Reiv Kader Haaretz Mayim. Most of the world is water. I was in Samarkand, in Tashkent, in Moscow, in Leningrad, in New York. Yeah, I saw water. But most of the world is water. So that one says, like I say, I was there. I was also in Ireland, Cleveland, Kinder, country. This, yeah, there's water. But the Reiv Kader Haaretz, it doesn't make sense. You sit and cook and tracht. Finally, one says, no, that's a shot when it says, Amadaf Hobim Amunah and the Ferta from the Rabbi. You have to believe what the Rabbi say. If the Rebbe says most of the world is water, then most of the world is water, and weiter. Okay, and then what? And that's exactly how I've learned also. It says, Yad Sharetzel it's right. As soon as he wants to move it, it moves. That's what it says. That's the way it is. Now I have to give a shir downstairs to these college kids. So I knew for sure they're going to ask a question. What's Pshat? Right away. It's not right away. What happens? You take your finger and you touch the hot stove. What happens? Exactly, scientifically, what happens? What happens is like this. When you touch the finger to the stove, the first thing that happens is, right away, the finger sends an email to the brain, oi, it's hot. Mamish rega commemorate, after the brain gets that email from the finger, it sends back an email. Idiot, move! And he moves. But it doesn't happen right away. First, that email goes to the brain, and then the email goes back to the not email. Okay, so it's a nerve, whatever. I mean, you get the story, okay? The whoop shot, miyad, it doesn't happen instantly. And what about it? Then, one of the shkichim. In those days, there was only one mashpia. Chaim was the mashpia, so he couldn't be all there was no echad mashpia. Meshkan Piastik. He was a smart man. And he also understood Nuchsidis, like he Nuchsidis very well. So I went to him and asked him to show him. So he looks at me like he never saw such an idiot in his life. No, but now he has to explain. But says to me, he says, I want to ask you something. You ever go to Chasana? Yeah, I had no idea where he's going with this. So I said, yeah. So you ever see in the Chasana, the Bachar, there's they make a big circle, and in the middle of the circle, the Bachar, they come into the middle of the circle and they start to dance. They start to hand with their fist and they dance and they're springing and yeah. So do to stay you also do that? He says, no. So he said, oh, listen, there's no I what am I going to pull on myself? So he said to me, how do you think they how to? I don't know what he's talking about. So I'll tell you how they do. They stand hours in the dormitory in front of a mirror and they practice. That's how they do. They stay in and they practice. Why do they have to practice hours to be able to do it? It's very simple. Because dancing is a chacham. And the feet are not chachamim. Feet are feet. And you want to put chachmas haritut into a foot, you have to take it and put it in there. It takes time. Why? Because chachma is in your head, not in your foot. And you want to move chachma from your head to your foot. It's a shinoi, it's a change. And that change takes time. How long does it doesn't matter how long it takes. You're smart, you can do, you're smart, if you're agile, it takes 10 hours. If you're not, the point is, it's why? Because chachma and so you want to become an artist. What do? Take a brush and some paint and the canvas and shine, I'm an artist. Why not? Because I say, seer is a chachma. And your fingers is not a chacham. Your finger has kayach hamishus. But to be able to express a midah in a beautiful way, on artistic form, that takes incredible amount of time because it's a change. It's man. And when it comes to kayach haratz, and when you want to move, nothing has to change. Nothing changes there. We're not talking here about nerves. We're not talking about emails. We're talking pleasure that there's no change going on here. It happens right away. In Pashtus, that's pshat. It means the ale is close. That in a short time you can be able to come to it. The Rebbe is not talking about an hour or 26 hours from Australia. That's not what I'm talking about. The Rebbe says the ale is not in Eretz Yisroel, the ale is in Chutzlaretz. Why is it not Eretz Yisroel and Chutzlaretz? So you should be able to come to it in a short time. What should you be able to come to it in a short time? Nothing has to change to be able to come to ale. Akapanim, not a change that takes a lot of time. To be able to go to Eretz Yisrael, like we said before, to go to Eretz Yisrael, to go to the Eretz Yisrael, the real Eretz Yisrael, that takes a tremendous amount of time. How much chassidus you have to learn, how much nigla you have to learn, how much aveda you have to have, how much davening you have to have. People have überkeren sich to change from who we are to what we're supposed to become. It's a shinui muhusi. It's a fundamental change that requires incredible keiches, and obviously it takes a lot of time. Again, it's not a question of time on a watch or time on a. Rebbe said, "Ot kum Mashiach, ot kum Mashiach, ot kum Mashiach." We're talking now, myself, 30 years. What kind of ot? The Rebbe wasn't pointing not to a watch. The Rebbe wasn't pointing to a calendar. The Rebbe was pointing, ot kum Mashiach. Nothing has to change. Everything that has to happen, happened. Now, one thing is left. Efel U'Degel. They have to change. We don't need new miftzah. We don't need new achrozes. We don't need ot. Nothing has to change. Now, it's 30 years and we still haven't figured it out. It's takach. But the kasha is on us. Kasha is on us. Nach vifel ashir. But the Rebbe is saying, there's no change. And that's what the Rebbe is saying here. L'chayr is pshat in the sikha. That the Rebbe says the ale is in Chutzlaretz, the ale is in Golus, the ale is here. Why is the ale here? The ale was an Eretz Yisrael shot. To be able to come to the Rebbe, you have to change. Be able to come to the Rebbe would have to become first and foremost become a chassid. Become a chassid. I become a chassid. It's not like pay dues and make a proclamation chassid ani with whatever. It's not so simple. It's not. It's b'chlal not simple. In fact, it's very, very, very hard. It requires incredible change. It's an incredible change that we are called upon, every single year is called upon to make that change. I mean, that's what we're learning in Tanya now. Halavai Beinani. And as we all know, a Beinani is not a simple thing. Chlal not a simple thing. Halavai Rosh of a table. And yet, the Rebbe says, you're right. You have to talk about it. But that doesn't mean that if you haven't yet, that to me you're not going to be able to come. I'm not going away from you. I am not going away from you. I am staying with you. You're in Golis. I'm in Golis. You're not going to where you should go. I mean, that's exactly what the first Rebbe said. Moshe Rabbeinu said the same thing. He said to them, you're not going to bring them to Eretz Yisrael. Okay, fine, I'll stay with them here. I'm not going. I'll bang the rock with a stick. Why? Because we're not going to separate. I'm staying with them. We'll finish our laws and why? Because the Rabbi brings it in it's in a Yud Shvat Sicha. The Rabbi talks about everything is Ava. I mean, the Kavas of Ava, and that Avraham, it says Avraham, Yirei Elikim Ba'ava, and the same is Moshe Rabbeinu, Ba'ava, Moshe Rabbeinu, Ohev Yisrael. That's the defining characteristic of a Rebbe, is the Ava that he has to every year. And that Ava to every year is I'm not letting go of you. I'm not letting go of you. I'm staying with you. And that you have to know that to come to me, I want you to be a mensch, more than a mensch, a taka chassid. But you know what? That's not a prerequisite to come to me. There are no prerequisites. Yet there is, every one of us, where we are, what we are, Rebbe says, I'm close.
Happy birthday.
Remembering that. It's not pshat that the Yitzhahara comes and says to me, part of it, you can sit by the sitting and question this. I know who you are. You know who you are. Well, let's Saru. Now leave it alone. It's not for you. It's come have a good time. So the simple answer is he's right. When it comes to emphasis as a chaynet, okay? In Rega Kamemer, you can be by me. You can be by me. Now here's your choice. You want to be with him or you want to be with me? It's a choice. I mean, the only reason we read the chaynet that we shouldn't is because that's the ruch shtus, that nichlas be ruch shtus, that a person, as I'll say, a person doesn't do a avera, a sin, elim can nichlas be ruch shtus, a spirit of foolishness entered. A spirit of foolishness. What's the spirit of foolishness? Idiot. This is your choice. The Yitzhahara or the Lubavitch Rebbe. Which do you want? So a person could say, I would like the Lubavitch Rebbe, but what do I have with the Lubavitch Rebbe? Comes the Rebbe and says, there's a chaynet. The Egel is none. I'm not far away from you. Don't think that you have to become something special before you can come to me. Nishtase. Every Yid can come to me. In the Cholam, I'll take you. Why? Because I love you. Wie du bist und wie du gehst und wie du stehst, how you are and how you stand and how you sit, you're mine. I love you. All right, mamish adam to come into the oil is not a brilliant thing to do, but we're not talking about first spending, shiva nakiyim on trying to. Biggest of weapon. Never says, and I'll take you, and I won't let you go. Chaim. There's a medrash that the Rebbe brings down. It's when you think about it, it's like the Rebbe brings it. I know of two different places. One place it's actually Smokut is printed, but there it talks just about one aspect of it. About the medrash is on last week's parsha. So it's like we're still in the really the good parts. Vayelchu vayasu b'nei Yisroel asher dibra alei Moshe, that Yidden went and they did like Moshe said. They went and they made the Korban Pesach. So comes the Medrash and says that actually as soon as you went to it wasn't exactly like that. Yeah, I mean, that's what they maybe most did. It doesn't even seem like most. That's what. But evidently, there were many, many Yidden that didn't go and do what Moshe Rabbeinu said that they should do on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And when it came the 10th day of Nisan, they didn't take Korban Pesach. In fact, they were not even living with Yidden; they were living with not Yidden. And Kama said that after Bimal, they were fine. And these were the ones that wanted to go, because the ones that didn't want to go died already a couple of weeks earlier. So it's like, you can imagine what they were like. And it came the night of Pesach. So the Eibishter has a Maisa, what is he going to do? So the Medrash says that the Eibishter, Hashem made a miracle. And he took a ruach, he took a wind from Gan Eden. And he made it blow in Eretz Mitzrayim. And that wind carried on it the fragrance of Moshe Rabbeinu's Korban Pesach that was roasted. When the Yidden smelled the fragrance of Moshe Rabbeinu's Korban Pesach, they came running to Moshe Rabbeinu, and they said to Moshe, "Tnu lanu skacha, give us from your Korban Pesach." So Moshe Rabbeinu said to them, in Canada, they came running, not embarrassed. They came running against us with the people they were living with. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Kol banecha le'echel." Yeah, you're here with me. So, boom, they sent them all away. Okay, we want to come place. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, "Have a Eved. It's not Gimel. It's not. It didn't have Bismillah. You can't." No problem. They made a bris milah on all of that. By the way, so Canada, the Mitzrayim had a vodem, some of them, many of them. So then Moshe Rabbeinu looks at them and it says, but it says, Kol Orel Loyecha. Person who's not Nimo, a person who didn't have a bris milah can't have one basis. Miyad Sholach Ishas Charbe. Immediately there it said, when it says they took their swords and they were mouth themselves, and Moshe Rabbeinu did. So Lekutei Sichos, the Shiloh that Rebbe asks is, how was it possible to make a bris milah at night? It was a night already. How could you make a bris milah at night? Okay, so that's the look it up. It's the head of the slide. Okay, so the Rebbe asks two questions from the Medrash. One question, Pashat al Pidin. And the second question, Abalabatish. The first question, Al Pidin, the Rebbe says, how could Moshe Rabbeinu give them Korban Pesach? It's a halacha revachas. We say every single day in Israel, Mekaimon, Einei Nechel Elamenuya. Can only eat, only ones that can eat from a Korban Pesach is somebody that had been already Monoi, he had already been appointed. Part of the Chabura that was eating from the Korban Pesach. And they're coming now, Moshe's that it's already, it's already being roasted. So how can Moshe Rabbeinu give them if they weren't money? That's the first question. And then the Rebbe asks a question. How is it possible from one little shepsele that Moshe should be able to give all the Yidna from his Korban Pesach? Korban Pesach to be Yetzi, you have to have a Kizayas. And the Rebbe says, and you can't say that Lav Dafka then they'd have to have a Kizayas, because the whole din of Kizayas, that the whole din of Kizayas, that Achila is Kizayas, we learn from Korban Pesach. So, how is it possible to Moshe Rabbeinu which is not together? The Rebbe says like this: that Moshe Rabbeinu, it's a Medrash says that it's a mefarish was pshat. So that evidently the miyad sholach ishas charbe was not, didn't mean literally that each one took their sword and were mal themselves, but rather it was they were ready to be mal themselves, but the actual milah itself, so it says, the Medrash has two days. One day, Moshe Rabbeinu was mal, Aaron was para, and Yeshua gave them to drink. It says that when you give the person by the bris milah, the wine to drink, so Yeshua gave. And there's another day that says that Yeshua was mal, Aaron was pereya, and Moshe Rabbeinu. Hestus is Ogun, Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't there by himself. So we know for sure like this. There was Pashat Tasei there. It was Moshe, there was Yeshua, there was Aaron. No, if Moshe was there and Yeshua was there, whereas Aaron was there, so all we know for sure is that it wasn't like a private affair there. It's Hashem gewesen that Anshe Moshe was together with Moshe. Shevet Levi was there. Ubemele, like this. The first thing the Rebbe says is that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he made his Korban Pesach, Moshe Rabbeinu had in mind Al Yidin. Now, what Moshe Rabbeinu had in mind? Okay, that's what Moshe Rabbeinu had in mind. But just think what it means here. This is the implication of that. That who did Moshe Rabbeinu have in mind when he made his Korban Pesach? Shorim? No, Shorim made it. What did Moshe Rabbeinu have in mind? He says, Menu Yov. Where's money by Moshe? Who's money on his Korban Pesach? Somebody Ayid that doesn't want to have anything to do with Korban Pesach. It's just an afternoon of Pesach. It came time to Shechut. Yeni Yid was not, it was with his shiksa, not interested in the whole Maisa, because it didn't care about it. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu had in mind. Oh, that's the one I want to be part of my Chabura. That's my mention, okay? These are the ones, okay, these couple of 100,000, that's on my Korban. So they were at money on his companies. There's not enough not enough meat in one little lamb for all of these thousands. But that's Anshe Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu's Taka Moshe Rabbeinu's people. Moshe Rabbeinu's the ones that Moshe Rabbeinu relied on. Rebbe used the expression that came Shnas HaShivim. Interesting Russian Rebbe uses. Rebbe asked for a present in Shnas HaShivim, where 70 months. Rebbe says that a person wants something. He wants to do something, but he can't because he needs hands and feet with which to do it. He can't do it himself. So I'm asking people to be my hands and feet. That's I have to be Makar of millions of people. But Pashut Begashmi is I can't be everywhere at the same time. I mean, I can't be everywhere. But I need people. That's Anshe Moshe. That was Shevet Levi. So by them, their Korban Pesach wasn't their Korban Pesach. Their Korban Pesach was Moshe Rabbeinu's Korban Pesach. It's Anshe Moshe. So by Mela, when Moshe is Nuyov of Moshe, says when a shliach makes a Korban Pesach, it's whatever the Rebbe wants. That's my money. I'm not, but whatever the Rebbe needs. That's my money. I'm not going to go and sitting in front of the Rebbe and go into talk question. That's a halacha question. That's probably not. I'm sure that Ferish the Rambam brings it down, but again, if there isn't. I digress entirely. I just want to show up. But the point is that it's just think about it. That's what Rebbe says. That's how Moshe Rabbeinu makes a Korban Pesach. Who's Moshe Rabbeinu's? Who's his Eid that doesn't yet realize that he shouldn't be living with whom he's living, and he doesn't realize that in a couple of hours, David is taking us out of Golos and is bringing us to Arsina and giving us the Torah. And he doesn't know. He does not even interested in the whole thing. Oh, you're a part of my Korban Pesach. So that's one. And number two, think what it means to be Anshe Moshe, one of Anshe Moshe. Who's Anshe Moshe? Anshe Moshe is somebody that there's no question of anything other than if this is what Moshe wants, this is what I am. This is what there's no me involved. So they ate from when they ate from a piece from one of the Levium, the Korban Pesach was they're eating from Moshe Rabbeinu's Korban Pesach. In 3,000 years, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. It's exactly how it is today. In Pashtus, that's the nakuda of what I said before. That we have to understand and we have to realize a Yud Shvat comes in the world. What are we remembering on Yud Shvat? What are we taking from Yud Shvat? So everybody has to make their own cheshbon nefesh, and everybody has to. There's no question that comes to another hider and another. Make appeals for just to remember how much the Rebbe cares about every single one of us. How much the Rebbe cares about a Yid in Zimbabwe or in Antarctica, which just as much. But right now, every one of us, the Lei Ozav, Lei Yazev, Lei Ozav, he didn't go away anywhere. He's with us and cares and wants and loves. I heard a mice once. I told it over by Farbrengen. It was 70 after the Shluchim. Told over a story that I heard that happened in France. There was a young man that was being miskarev. And at some point, he hit a roadblock. What was the roadblock? Roadblock was that he couldn't understand the relationship solved by the shluchim, by the Rebbe. Other side of life. Talking about people that maybe never even saw them. And the Liebschaft, the love that they have for the Rebbe, it's like, it made no sense. It was like, how, what? I mean, love for somebody, you never saw him, you never met him, he never met you. Yeah, Taki's a great tzaddik, it's great. Just love something like that, with that you'll do anything you couldn't. And that roadblock was a roadblock that already affected other parts of his Yiddishkeit. It was like it wasn't. Turned out he was going to America, and they were matziach him. They should go to the Rebbe. Because those days, spots was actually going. And last the Rebbe's question. Kachav went into the Rebbe, and he that was the question that he asked the Rebbe. The Rebbe spoke to him in French. I don't really know French. I don't know any French. But they said that the expression the Rebbe used was very. The Rebbe said to him, he says, what don't you understand? He says, my love for them, Chassidim, my love for them is so, the expression that we use, so overflowing, so unlimited, so without bound. My love for them is so much. Why is it so hard for you to understand that just some of it, a little bit of it, should reflect back? It's not that they love me. I love them. And what can't you understand? A little bit of it. I remember when I said it over at Farbrengen, and it was like this, I don't know if you saw the pictures of those Farbrengen. So somebody standing behind me, and he points to rock standing on the pyramids. Did you see that over there? That's his son. The one that you told the story about, that's Take's son. So the mice is a mice. Okay. But that's what we have to remember. That's what we have to remember. That's what Yud Shvat is. Yud Shvat is the day that like Rosh Hashanah is kashrus. Rosh Hashanah is kashrus. Yeah, ask a chosr is kashrus. Remember just all this story. It happens to me. I came to Yeshiva in Pittsburgh for Bar Mitzvah. So I went to Chassidus Shabbat. So how do you be a Chassidus Shabbat? You imitate Chassidus Shabbat. I mean, when you're 13, you have to go very. You imitate Chassidus Shabbat. But they do, you do. I'll see by them, I'll snitch by them. You really are that or not that. We'll figure it out later. Like, no. There was one thing that Chassidus Shabbat did that I wanted to do. But my parents didn't think that I actually, they thought it was actually a very bad idea. So they said, well, but I wanted it. And, peer pressure. It's not negay what it was, really. It's the mice, it's not negay. Somebody gave him an eitzah. You know what to do? Why don't you write to the Rebbe and ask the Rebbe if you should do it? The Rebbe is certainly going to say you should do it. No question. So ask the Rebbe if you should do it. And the Rebbe will say you should do it, and your parents are not going to be able to say you should do it. Right? So I sat down and I wrote a letter to the Rebbe. I got back an answer. Im betekef yachid. If you will make up your mind with great betekef, the word betekef, determination, the Rebbe underlined it twice. Im betekef yachid. Make up your mind with great. And then the Rebbe gave me a condition, a very difficult condition. Make do that such and such. Then Yasa came Hashem and said, do it. Boom. I went running to the telephone and I made a collect call home to Pittsburgh. I don't remember what a collect call is, but anyways, I made a collect call. And the Rebbe said I should. Silence. Then my mother says, Yisroel, what exactly did the Rebbe say? So I said, oh, take it back. So my mother said, Yisroel, say the truth. Do you really think that you're going to do it? Can you honestly say that you can do it? Like this. When it comes to your classmates, it's nothing. That's like your teachers takes a little bit more work, but that's not so hard to. When it comes to your mother, especially when your father's on the line, it's a whole different category. Yeah, it doesn't. My eloquent, articulate response was, and basically that was the end of the conversation. And as far as they were concerned, that was the end of the matter. Other parts, I wanted. Months went by, and it came time that I should. In those days, your birthday. 14, maybe 15. So I decided I would ask the Rebbe. And I wrote, that was the question I asked. Gave the Rebbe the thought. The Rebbe read, looking down me, said, turned to the bottom. And then the Rebbe, like looking down at my note, without looking up, looking down at the note, the Rebbe said to me, "Nu, ich habe schon geantwortet. I already answered. Rest is the nation. Will you do it or not?" Like, what do you? We went through this already. Will you do it or not? Rest is the nation. Are you going to do it or not? And I'm standing there, and just the idea of answering, speaking to the Rebbe, saying something to the Rebbe, like, how do you talk? But not to answer a question like this, like. I stood like frozen. It felt like 2 hours. Maybe it was 10 seconds, but it felt like 2 hours. And like tears coming out of my eyes. And I was like, what? Until finally, with my last keches, I managed to, like almost imperceptibly, nod my head, like maybe 10 millimeters. Yes. I wanted to say yes. I knew I was looking down the whole time. And when I barely nodded, Rebbe looked up with a smile. He said to me, "Adu ves gedenken." You'll just remember. Adu es mitzvah promised me as the Zicher Kennen Yisroel will certainly be able. Just remember, you promised me. You remember, you promised me, and you'll be able to. And it was like at that moment, was this expression, the Fala Simon, the nickel drop, penny drop, it was like something happened. It was, you know, at the time it was like, I didn't think it. I, of course, articulated it in my mind, but it was like, what just happened here? The Rebbe is making like a shutfis, a deal with me. Like another kid, 14-year-old kid. The Rebbe says to him like this, here, we're going to have this thing, you and I. This. You're going to remember that you promised me, and because you'll remember that you promised me, then you'll be able to do it. Why? Because you remember that I can. Remember that you promised me, therefore I care that you should keep the promise that you made. Because your promise to me is important to me. Your promise to me is important to me, and that's why you'll be able to do it. Because you'll remember that. I'm important to them. Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, I like all of you. Yeah, but no. He's not talking about that. He's talking about this particular thing. We have. It's like I like for the first time, I began to understand what I think is a fundamental truth. Manche meinen. People think that the definition of a chassid, what's a chassid? A chassid is somebody who believes in the Rebbe. That's not a chassid. That's somebody who's not brain dead. I didn't know believe in the Rebbe. You don't have to be a chassid to believe in the Rebbe. You just have to have a little bit of brains. So what's a chassid? A chassid is somebody who realizes that the Rebbe believes in them. That the Rebbe believes in him and acts on that knowledge. That the Rebbe believes in him. Oh, das is a chassid. That constantly remembers that the Rebbe believes in me. And the Rebbe is expecting me to do azay and azay and azay. And when? Not just in I think it's brought down in the Rishimas. The Rebbe brings down, I think from the Rebbe Marash, on the Mishnah, Pirkei Avos, Kol Masha Barak Kadosh Baruch Hu B'Ilami Lebra. The Rebbe Marash says, what's Pshat? Kol Masha Barak Kadosh Baruch Hu B'Ilami. It's not talking just about this stuff, you know, all of the mountains and the valleys and the Chechavim and that. Kol Masha Barak Kadosh Baruch Hu B'Ilami means every moment. Every moment that the Eibishter creates is lebra el l'chveidei. It was only created l'chveidei. What's pshat? That when you're in this particular moment, that's the gedenken, that the Eibishter made this moment for one reason. It should be l'chveidei. Now you have the choice. You're going to do what the Eibishter wants now, or you're not going to do it. But you should have to remember that this moment. I don't know how many years ago it was. It's Stanford, the Jewish Community Center, once brought a Steinsaltz to speak. It was right after Shabbos brought him. He was on the speakers list, the JCC. So he came, and it was a big crowd. So he didn't speak about the book about Shabbos, he spoke about Tanya. Like he was like, I don't know. And he said then a word, it was like, he said that there's this expression, this Yiddish expression, It's schwer zu sein Aid. It's hard to be Aid. When people think, what is schwer zu sein Aid? It's hard to be Aid. Based on, we have some service and submit koyim and mice. It's hard. It's hard to be a Jew. He says that's not hard. It's not. The definition of hard, it's hard to be. Schwer zu sein Aid means that for a Yid, there's no such thing as off time. There's no such thing as downtime. Every moment, a Yid is called upon to do what the Eibishter wants. Every single moment. There's no every moment that the Eibishter created, you have to do what the Eibishter wants. That's not easy. What's the Schwester sein? Yeah, based on Shabbos and Yom Tov and davening. Yeah, based on I can, but every moment, and that's Pshat. Yeah. Every single moment. Elamai. If you don't want to see this, it's not hard. But if you learn to see this and you realize that you have it. I said I didn't cover yesterday's L'chaim, so it's like the truth. I remember when we were sitting shooting for my father. So Shia Tversky came. And I think he said it to us then, or maybe it was one time by a year. So he said about my father, he said he had a very, he's talking about the whole difficulties with Christ. And he said he was always with Simcha. Why was he always with Simcha? Why was he always with Simcha? Because he never for a moment forgot that he has it. He never for a moment forgot he has it. That's what Yud Shvat is. That we need to remember every moment we have a Rebbe. A Rebbe who loves us, and a Rebbe who believes in us. And Taka, a Rebbe who demands incredible things from us. And gives us the keches to do. What can be greater than that? Chaim. Da da ye da 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 ye da 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 ya ye da 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 ye da 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 ye da 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 ye da la la ye da la la ye da la la ye da 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 ye da 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 ye da da da.
You have a few addicts in the audience.
Yishaseinu, Vayasheinu, Matekaleinu, Umanoyim, Gairaleinu, Yafa, 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 Yishaseinu, Vayasheinu, Matekaleinu, Umanoyim, Gairaleinu. Hey, Yafa, 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 Yerushalayim, Vayasheinu, Matekaleinu, Umanoyim, Gairaleinu, Yafa, 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 Yerushalayim. I assume, because I'm in here in Yisroel, that people are aware that obviously we're coming now into Shnas Kufkov, Yidalef Nissen, the Rebbe's 170th year, and that there is a undertaking, Chassidim, that similar to when it came to Shnas HaShivim, 70th year, Tov Shalom and Beis, the Rebbe asked for a present to make 71 new meistes, which I remember at the time, the idea to make 71 new meistes it was like so wild. It was literally Mavil al Harayim in those days. It should be another 71 meistes. Today, pictures in Arab the Kinnis HaShluchim, thousands of shluchim, but not everybody's there even. Tov Shalom and Beis, there was no such thing as a Kinnis HaShluchim yet, clouds. And when the first Kinnis HaShluchim was 10 years later, the first picture, I don't know if anybody ever saw the picture of the first Kinnis HaShluchim, but it was on the pyramids in 70, it was 3 lines. I don't remember, it's 30. Okay, so it's not only of America, but still, it was. And there, 10 years earlier, making 71 new meistes was like, maybe said, maybe even, which wasn't exactly more. But that really, it had Akdama. And the Akdama was Purim. Purim, Tov Shalom Beis. The Rebbe spoke that it's coming, there are people that are talking about the upcoming Yom Haledes and that they want to give presents. Well, what's important? It was Yud Shvat. It was Yud Shvat. That people want to give presents. So the Rebbe said that even though it's not a seder, comes to presents, you should tell people what kind of presents you want. But in Kol Zeh, the Rebbe said, I'll tell you what I want. And then a present should be an Indian and Torah. Even though, I see Tavim or it's, so these things are not very important. And Tzedakah certainly is an incredibly important thing. But if you want to give me a present, for me a present is something in Torah. I'm learning in Torah. And then, Aleph Nissen, that's when they ever said about the Shiva Mesis. That's already after the presence of Shem. Now, and even then, I'm sure, it's a very well-known video clip that people saw of the Farbrengen Yud Aleph Nissen Tov Shalom Beis after the Maimer, singing Choshem Chasisi for a half hour. It was like unbelievable. And the Rebbe said after the singing, the Rebbe said, I was waiting for this moment. But Edom should be in a area, so you should be able to hear what I have to say, and that shouldn't be Shiras HaKelim, that you're ready to hear. So here's what I want you to do, and that's when the Rebbe said 71. So there's several things like this. Shmulu, once in Yechidus, he asked the Rebbe how it wants to be discussion to everyone sometimes. Time's up to the Rebbe. So how could it push it to the Rebbe? So the Rebbe said to him, do a learning, should learn what I learned. That's discussion. At the end of the Yechidus, he said, I took the guts. I don't know where I got it from. But I took the guts I said to the Rebbe, what's learn the Rebbe? I should learn what the Rebbe is learning. So what's learn the Rebbe? The Rebbe learning. So the Rebbe smiled, and the Rebbe said, Nigla Chassidus. There's a Rebbe made a lot of a gemont. Rebbe commanded. I don't want to use the word. You know, yeah, Rebbe commanded. From Chassidim, lots of things. If so, I made learn. And a Chassid wants to do what the Rebbe wants him to do. But when it comes time to make a cheshbon hanefesh, shalamita, place, elul, and you sit down to make the cheshbon hanefesh. So, for most of us, cheshbon hanefesh generally works out in such a way that whatever it is that we did, but one thing is like clear as day that we could have done more. One of the son, when I got 10 people to put on film, we couldn't get 50 people. You would have spent another hour, or if you would have asked you for MS, you would have got and you didn't go even a couple of times. And you got somebody to give like and you couldn't give 10 times as much. And you learned, you couldn't have learned more. Whatever it is, Yisroel with guitar depends on that. I mean, could be there are people that make the cheshbon. I did exactly as much as I could. It's everything. I don't know this. So, but there's one thing that the Rebbe said in the Atakana, and that is like, you did it, you didn't do it. That's the one takana. That's learning Rambam. 3 Krokim Rambam. Learning 3 Krokim Rambam every day. The Rebbe said, just learn the 3 Krokim Rambam, you did whatever today. And Chalel or not, there shouldn't even be such a thing as a Chalel or not. Like saying, davening Ma'ariv. After davening Ma'ariv every day, and if you didn't daven, what do you mean didn't daven Ma'ariv? Can you imagine laying in bed, at 12 o'clock at night, and boom, I didn't daven Ma'ariv. I forgot to daven Ma'ariv. What do you do? Turn over and then go back to sleep? You jump out of bed, do some days, and you go daven Ma'ariv. It's like it's not I would hope, I think that's the way normal people are. It's like it's not a 3 Krokim Rambam has to be at least like that. It should be like davening Ma'ariv, like putting on film. That's like you learn 3 Krokim Rambam today, you know at least in this area, I did what I ever wanted to do. There's no not. There's no. That's like, and if somebody hasn't yet come to that achlota nafshis, then that has to be the first atona. I once heard somebody who said, like people take children when they go to sleep at night. You have this picture, you have a kiss goodnight, and then you die in bed. Learning 3 Krokim Rambam is like giving a kiss. I understand this. That has to be mecholeresh. I think like it's interesting. Somebody sent me a picture of a chance an aura, and on the WhatsApp it's missing that bottom piece of it, which I want to see. But anyways, there is in Tafshin Yud Shvat, Tavshin Lamed Beis. Yeah. So the Rebbe said then, it was the Farbrengen, like tonight, Wednesday, right? And the Rebbe said then that it's because it's a Shnasa Hebrew, it's a leap year. So the leap year, so the Yud Aleph Shvat is 3 months to Yud Aleph Nisan. When it's a leap year, it's 3 months. So Tavshin Nun Beis, the Rebbe is also, which is also a Shnasa Hebrew. Then the Rebbe said that it's, in this is Tavshin Lamed Beis, the Rebbe said that it's a Tekufa. 3 months is a Tekufa, because there are 4 Tekufas in a year, so there are 12 months, so each 3 months is a Tekufa. So it's like the Tekufa of Yud Aleph Nisan begins tonight. Tonight begins the Tekufa of Yud Aleph Nisan, and the Achonis of Yud Aleph Nisan begin upon him. Like officially, we're already in the preparation for Yud Aleph. So in Pashtus, the Rebbe says, and this is the present I want, the present I want, it has to be in Limud HaTorah. That's the present I want. That's one thing. The Nachwer, what's Chassidim Amshen Angelu, even before, that then was talking 71 Meses. So today, that there should be at least 1,210 new Meses. Starting in Aleph Nisan, at least 1,210 Meses. It's a double border already. The way it's starting, that there will at least be twice as much. At least twice as much. But it's not something that is like a for shluchim, raise shluchim. Every chassid it has a chrayas. Who might say what kind of a chrayas? Not chrayas. It's just like it's logical. To take a part in something like that, to take a part in it, that we should have a chelik in that. And it's something that's like Bashamayim. It's another Mesid and another Mesid and another Mesid. Can you imagine that, like, it comes to Yud Aleph Nisan Tavshin, I mean, Sheikhs are, I don't say Yifrit. Like the words are going to look like another 2,000 Meistas, another 1,500 Shluchim. It's going to be, and what can be better than taking a chelik in that? Taking a chelik in that. How? I didn't come to make a truth, like I said, and I'm not, but Tein L'chochem Yech Kameid. It's not Leba Shamayim interessant. When did they ever speak about libraries? Oh, the Rebbe spoke that's when they ever spoke about it. Yud Aleph Nisan. Oh, Shnas, it wasn't Tavshin Lamed Beis. They ever spoke about it, Tavshin Lamed Gimel. Yud Shvat Tavshin Lamed Gimel, the Rebbe said that there are 3 months left till Yud Aleph Nisan Tavshin Lamed Gimel, because there are 3 months left to fulfill what I asked to do to make the Shiva Meisnes. And that's when they spoke also about libraries, that there should be libraries and with music, with simcha, with this. It's doable. But it's something that every chassid should feel that we have the schus to be able to do something. To be able to I once heard a story. Yes, he comes with a story. It's Bocher. I said, not that happened. I don't know who was it said it. Mice was a gator. For Hoya that it happened. What was it, Shem? It was one day, with a mall, Eden heard the Sheikh. Sheikh came. So, Sheikh came. Shouldn't have to just years ago. Sheikh came, and we're still in those. was it sein? Und alle Seiten verstört. Everybody came running. Sure. We're still here. And it's like, what's it sein? The people go around the shul and the shul get packed one side to the other. Menschen stehen mit David, so Tübel, mit Bein, Betzer. Oh, what is the whole Mizrach line? The whole Mizrach side of the shul. Alle Moshe, they're not here. Where are they? In Israel. You can imagine how the rest of the people in the shul felt. People who are married. Tamil, another 20% of the shul gone. Ooh, it's so much. Until finally, Shos and Davin and Bain and Becky, the shul's related. Everybody's gone. What happened in that shtetl? In every shtetl and shtetl, everybody, all the Yidden, Sheikh, Lumen, Echot, brought them back in Israel. Nu, wel, de Quran ganze toe. It's like Malach HaMashiach. Herrscht über die ganze Welt. He's not just a Malach HaMashiach, but he's Malach HaMashiach on the whole world, not just on Yidden. So the nations of the world had to somehow recognize a new king here. And they made up to be a General Assembly, United Nations of all the nations of the world, not representatives, kings and prime ministers and presidents and queens and alle kubitz and they come. What are we going to do? Somebody says, what are we going to do? We have a king. First thing to do when you have a king, you have to bring the king tribute. You have to bring the king present. So what are we going to bring the king present? President of the United States, the Chacham gets up and he says, I'm going to give him 50% holding in the whole stock market. Give to him. Then she'll have a laugh at the king. The Sheikh leaves the stock market. Queen of England gets up and says, you know what? I'll bring him the crown jewels from sugar. So, President of Russia I'm giving 10 divisions over my army. He has the whole world. He needs your stupid army. Like, what are we going to bring him? Only Ahmed Pikachachot, one smart. He said, Rabbi said, what's going to be? So what is Mashiach? What's the most precious thing of Mashiach? Eid. Let's bring him Eid. Eid. How do you bring Eid? They're all in Eretz Yisrael already by him. It can't be. It must be a Eid. So they started looking for somewhere in the world that must be leftover lunch. Contacting Wish Shtetl. Saying Ashika. So he used to spend his days and his nights laying in a gutter street. And he missed the whole story. When I licked the house, they found him. And they long guitar with this, pulled up a jumbo with kings and queens. It's a big fire to sell, and they brought him Eid. She looks like that's not a beautiful present. They just one. I missed the whole so I was actually nice. I'm just I mean I don't have to fix the story because it's not my point to the story. There is nothing more valuable, tired by Rebbe, by Mashiach, by Minachayim. And there's nothing more tired by the Rebbe than einer von seine Kinder should go out and find another one of his children and bringing them to that. And that's shot making another mesa. And whatever mesa it's going to be, it's a mesa that's going to be able to reach out to Nachayid, Nachayid, Nachayid. And that is the mail of what Yud Shvat is. But there's no question what Yud Aleph Shvat night is. Yud Aleph Shvat is the achlota that every one of us has to make. That between now and Yud Aleph Nisan Haba Aleinu V'Chol Yisroel Bracha and Nemtzach Winter, that we are going to be part of another Mesa that's going to be siyased between in the coming year. It should be Pashat another president. He deserves it. I mentioned Shmuel before. I'll put another story. Stake in Tov Shin Chov Dalet. Rebbe Tzachana used to make a Farbrengen, a little Farbrengen house on Kofov. And for Elder Chassidim to come. So it was that year he brought from England then something from his niece. So the Rebbe said, so David Raskin told Shmuel should come with that. So we may not be able to be there. We told over what happened. He said, sitting around the table, Rebbe Tzachana she said, Chaim, soll sein gut, weil es kommt. The Rebbe, soll sein good, it should be good, because he deserves it. Soll sein gut, weil es kommt. And there's nothing that will give the Rebbe nachas, and not just achlota, but taka to do it. Nachayid, Nachayid, Nachayid. Alles kommt. Deserves it. Chaim. I once heard from a Rabbi story. Rebbe Rebbe Rashab, one time was in Yiddish it's called a Kurort. In English it's called a health spa. Germany. Maybe it was Baden-Baden. Exactly. He was there, so there was some Previous Rebbe also there. And there was a Yekish Gadol from Germany, one of the Deren was also there at the time. And the Rebbe was saying, Rebbe Rashab gave him a lot of cover. He was Yaakov, who he was. And the Previous Chassidim, who had no idea who this person is, they saw the Lubavitch Rebbe in public, so they understood that he must be a Adam. Came time to eat, so the Previous Chassidim, so they grabbed Shabayim from the Rebbe was saying. They saw how the Rebbe was saying, giving cover to Yekish Gadol, so they started grabbing Shabayim from him also. By him, it failed a little bit of a Shviras HaKelim, which I don't know how to break that Shviras HaKelim. Breaking of the vessels doesn't quite, well, maybe it does, anyways. Huh? Yeah, it didn't, it was like, didn't understand what the heck is going on here. And the Rebbe said, notice what, no, let's go to explain to him it's like, wasn't the place for the time. On the other hand, so the Rebbe said to him, that's the way that's their meaning. That's how they give cover to somebody. They want to give them honor, you grab food. Okay, that's their meaning. So from that time on, every time somebody, one of the British citizens grabs from the food, so we say to him, Dankeschön, thank you, cover, Dankeschön. So it's already after 11 o'clock. You eat stuff. What are you sitting? Remember, where's that? Go to sleep. It's don't want not nice to be away, middle up. So the you're sitting here, so little together in the sun. Dankeschön. Thank you very much for the cover. Thank you very much. L'chaim. I once heard a word from the Previous Rebbe when it's out of it was when he came to Yisroel after the Comma, so he was in Tel Aviv. It was Pesach. That's Shmini Pesach. So he said, it says, I was Yoshir, it says, surely Nemar, Yoshir, Yoshir, Khan, there's a mason. From here, we have a value of Tchis Mason from the Torah. It says, Oz Yoshir, Meshach will sing, Khan of Tchis Mason. So he asked, why have this come to Khan? The whole Torah, where is the Raya of Tchis Mason from Oz Yoshir Meshach? But what does that have to do with Tchis Mason? What's the kasha? So he said pshatz like this. It says v'chamushim olu b'nei Yisrael meretz Mitzrayim. So Rashi says chamushim. What's the chamushim? That only a fifth went out, because the other 4/5 we didn't died by Makas Cheshach. So they didn't want to go out. They wish they didn't want to mitzvah see, so by Makas Cheshach, when they could see, that's when they. Where was Makas Cheshach? Makas Cheshach was 3 weeks before Makas Cheshach. 2 weeks in between every. So if that was 3 weeks, so then it's out that when was Kriyas Yamsuf? A week later. 4 weeks, 28 years later. 4/5, that means 80% of people died by Makas Cheshach, then it's impossible that there was a single Yid that crossed by Kriyas Yamsuf that didn't lose a close relative by Makas Cheshach. He died. And when was this? This was 28 days later. So it's not possible there was a single Yid that crossed by Kriyas Yamsuf that was not in Shleishim to somebody that died. Not one, but probably many that died. And over the Shaila, how is it possible after such a tragedy lose so many people and Im Kozeh to sing Oz Yashim? Chazal can Kriyas Yamsuf. From here we know it's what Rabbi Khan, that their emunah and Kriyas Yamsuf, that they knew for sure that everybody that they lost they would eventually see again. It's amazing. That's what gave them the care. The name is Chazal Mikan, Oz Yashim Mikan at Kesef. I didn't hear from him directly, but they large archives still during Shiva after Shvat. He came over to the Rebbe and he said to the Rebbe that he had a Previous Rebbe came. The Previous Rebbe said to him that he should tell the Rebbe, Ma titzak Eloi, was schreist du Skashus to me? Why are you screaming about Skashus to me? Daber of the Yisroel, be so. Red Chassidus, Zog Chassidus to Eden, before I'm coming. Speak Chassidus to Eden, the Rebbe should say Chassidus and go to Mashiach. This is still in Shiva, and the Rebbe heard his fine. And he showed him that he had just received his various kashrus. People, how does that stem with what the Rebbe still, whatever? That's, I'm going to go into Divrei Yom Mahaim, basically. But one thing is for sure. I put the two stories together simply because they're both on based on Parsha, based on the side. But it's an absolutely clear question. We have one mission, one era, one Daber of the Yisroel. Our job is question. It's repeat over everything that says to us. He's so wonderful. That's it. That's Yud Shvat. That's Yud Shvat. And that's this Parsha. And that's the way I feel. All the help and the wish to do it. Take Eisfin, Kavana. Just have the schutz to do very much. Amen. Yeah, that was the first. That was the first thing. He should build the zone of the super. I once said over. He said, "Yeah, that's of course." You heard this. Yeah. A lot of people come. So I heard you come. I don't know. Somebody has a what? Huh? It's cautious, plain and simple, even if it's not a gust. I don't hear you. What? No. That's not nice with COVID. But I don't say it finished. You know what I mean? It's like the curious of not saying it is longer than the COVID. Okay? So the mail, that's not. I'm not there. That's I don't go around without a mask either. That's like people ask I talk and why I wear the mask. So I tell people that that's the reason a mask because they never told me I should wear a mask. He said I should wear a mask. The Rebbe said that when it comes to questions of refuah, you should ask by a refuah on your head. My wife, you do say, wear a mask, I wear a mask. That's why I'm not wearing a mask. Not because I can't talk. When, it's like I put on the yesterday. I walked into the Farbrengen with the mask, and I took off the mask. But once I took it off, it was like Farbrengen nachnichtedom, like from yesterday to today, and it's not a push thing. And that's it. I sit, I'm like plopping for 3 hours nonstop. Like it's like no one, everybody agrees with everything I said, or and my question is only because you can't sit. No one forces anybody to stay here. All right, plenty of people left. Bleiben doch. Why? Rabbi Rosenberg. Why every single l'chaim I had to ask for. It's no one gave me any l'chaim without asking. What? What? Ayla wants to know what anhaga. I have no idea who's watching here. Okay, it's off already. Oh. He was one of told me to. Yeah. I said, you're the one who told me to let the first place. I never told him why. The reason I don't tell what because it's not negaya. And Elamai, so it's not negaya. You tell stories also. You don't have to. So the reason I don't say is because I'm afraid it shouldn't be a unique Seder. What's the unique Seder? But very simple. Because what it was not to go to English. First, not to learn Limudachel. So what am I worried about? I'm worried about is because Rebbe gave a very strong. Rebbe said, how many times Rebbe said was going to learn Limudachel? Yeah. So here I come and I told the Rebbe I don't want to learn Limudachel. So Rebbe says, you don't want to learn Limudachel? Okay. If yachlit lilmed vasmodo b'shkida rabba b'zman sheyispane. That's the I say. Nicht dos lernen dann. Im betekef yachlit lilmed vasmodo b'shkida rabba b'zman sheyispane. In those 3 hours of limud, and then is to learn in vasmodo b'shkida rabba. Then yaskem Hashem etzlicha. Und nicht go better to English. That's the right side. Better go to English. That's what I said to show there. Better go to English, learn Mudachel, than learn 3 hours, but not Basmoda B'Shkir the Rabba. Just Stamash Moda. Stramshkida. No. If it's not Asmoda Shkida Rabba, the better you should learn English. I don't know that that's a real Rabba. I know that after, but Yisroel, but I have should dafke nicht kein Rabbi. Okay, so that's what I don't want to say it. You know what I mean? It's like what's giving dazu. I don't want to give any. Somebody should come and say, "Oh, Anders better again than Chalel and Mordechai." What? Tanya the Messiah. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't want to say. You know what I mean? I don't want to go around saying that the Rebbe said such a thing. To me, he said it. Okay, it's like why? It's a chonish negaya. You know what I mean? That's like wow, mind with the chol. So that's I'm on a sick club that's the finish this can roll it up. Okay. With the chol, Thomas Leiner. The Rambam also with the chol. I mean, I'm not gonna say lahavda because I said lahavda between the Yidden, but I'm already telling the social say this there. So I'll tell you, like it says, like, and I have a right. I have a right to say it because zwei Sachen steht. Eine Sache steht, als Edom ist ein Stück schwer, und der zweite steht, that Achayaim. Okay, so by me it's so both Achayaim and Edom is Stück schwer. So when it came out, the Tanya came out. So the first English Tanya, when it was printed, so my shver was Nichidus by the Rebbe. So the Rebbe said to him, what is about the translation of the Tanya? So my shver was like, huh? So he said to the Rebbe, like the Rebbe's asking him that he should say Parshanas on Nissim Mandel's Tanya, that the Rebbe was Magia, and the Rebbe is asking him what's Zokter of them. Like he was like, what do you say? So the Rebbe understood why he doesn't want to say. So the Rebbe said to him, I'm not an American. So, like, what do I want to hear from an American that has that listens with an American ear, which, by the way, they never do good and well with. The Tucker, it's this Mandel was this Mandel, but he was also not an American, and the Tucker gave him to Cholokim Ram of Tanya. The Rebbe gave him to translate. I don't know why I'm telling the story. Oh, the says that there is an Indian in Limud Chol. Not again. No one has a right allowed Chalela to learn Limud Chol because it's Changaret that he's the one that's going to learn Limud Chol, and he's going to use it like the Rambam used it or like the Rebbe used it. But the fact the reality is that Mashver he was the one who brought Chassidus down into English. He was the first. Mashver wasn't the first one who brought Chassidus into English. Mashver was the first one who brought Yiddishkeit into English. The reality was he was the first one that brought Yiddishkeit down in a level that Americans should be able to relate to it. An American sprach. And everything that followed came after him. There was no one before him. That's the reality. Now, I'm not making it. I'm just telling you what some mice is like my shred. Hi. When did this go off? If I knew this went off a long time ago, I would have told you a lot more stories. Okay. Da 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 da. Did I let it la 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 ya da 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 da. Ya la la ya da 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 ya da 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 da. Ya da da da. Ya da 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 ya da 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 ya la la. Ha da 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 ya da da da. Ya da da da. Ya da da da. Ya da da da. That it's pushed a link, that it's not true, and the Zoom is on. Anyways. Okay, so the video is off, but and then I'm free. I was asked I should tell the story from the concert. Okay, I'll tell the story. Huh?
Oh, you ran out of time.
I ran out of time. So what happens now?
Oh, start again.
The concert started. Let's tell the story of the concert.
And why did you gone?
There's already 5 videos. That's it. Yeah.
Recording in progress.
So here's this. Maisa was we came on Shlichus. It was in Tovshin Lamed, and Nisim, what I had, we were able to buy Chabad house. It's so hard to imagine what we paid for the Chabad house then, which was like, I was doing was like paying face, paid down payment. It was a mortgage. Today I couldn't buy a garage for it. But anyways, we bought a Chabad house on the campus. Mamish surrounded 3 sides of the campus. We couldn't get better. Adayem Azet, still there. Amherst, Massachusetts. Well, this is Tovshin Lamed Daled. People didn't know such a Musik Chabad house. Chabad was not something today. It's not a goy that doesn't know the name Chabad, but in those days it was like forbidden. So we, when we were able to get the Chabad house, so now I have to let people know. So how do you tell people? Send out an email. make an announcement in the paper, Chabad house. How do I let people know something? So I decided I'll make a concert in connection with the Chanukah Sabayas in Chabad house. Concert, people know a concert, like a very well-known singer, Theodore Bekel, very well-known. Never heard the name, but in those days, Theodore Bekel was like a superstar of Jewish music. Actor, very, very well, and very expensive. I figured I'll take him for a concert, and then from the concert, make a mitzvah with a mitzvah bank, the concert Chabad house, and the Chabad house will make the Sabayas, and in the Chabad house will make the art exhibit, Hasidic art. And I say it today, I start a Rebbe of the world, that there is a God in the world, and there is a Rebbe in the world. So, Mamish, like opposite Chabad house, quarter of a mile, but you can see it. The university had just built a new fine arts center, a concert hall. So got that concert hall for the concert. And then for the concert, we secretary Kuppe with a mitzvah tank, this procession to the Chabad house. Okay. So I signed all the contracts, Alamisis, and we're making it. And I decided this is like my first Pa'ula, it has to be like Chila Ribber. So making like flyers, it's not flyers, 4 colors. I don't think most I've ever heard the term 4 colors for the last 30 years. But once upon a time, a 4-color flyer, just in case in and radio ads and television ads. Television ads. You get like something called public service announcement television. It would cost a lot of money. So there's not problems for it. This is get item developed. This is my first experience. And it worked. So because the concert was going to be on the university concert hall, well, they had this, all the tickets had to be sold by the university ticket office. They gave us like 100 tickets for the Alabatim, sponsors. But I say, well, they said it was going to be like a brunch. Alabatim, they gave the money for Chabad house. Then brunch would go to the concert back to the Chabad house. This was the middle of Kislev, Hanukkah. So concert should be on a Sunday. Tuesday before the concert, got a letter from the Rebbe. To all of the participants in the dedication of the Chabad house and Africa. Get such a letter, Rebbe, printed 1,000 copies. Give all of the people that the Rebbe sent the letter to, all of the. That was Tuesday. Friday, like 2 hours before Shabbos, I called up the ticket office, find out how many tickets were sold after all of our advertisements, our flyers, television ads, radio ads, bicycles, nothing else. Call up to find out how many tickets that were sold. So the lady in the ticket office says, check in the computer. She comes back and she says, 87. I said, no. The Chabad concert this Sunday. It was Theodore Bekel. Yeah, that got it. 87. So I thought, I would die. Mamish, I felt like I'm going to push it dropped dead. 87 tickets. It was, well, at least at that time, the worst Shabbos in my life. There's nothing to do. It was already like an hour before Shabbos, what to do. Shabbos afternoon, after midnight, went upstairs to the second floor of Chabad. Second floor of Chabad, you could see out onto the you could see out onto the campus, to the Fine Arts Center. I'm standing there by the window, looking out Fine Arts Center, and I'm thinking to myself, "Well, that's the curtain over there. That's tomorrow was going to be your mapala. The Rebbe sent you on shlichus a half a year. It's not possible. Ayulud Isha in 6 months she managed to do such a mapala, such a chil Hashem. It's like it's lo yu'um super, and tomorrow is going to be that. That's where it's going to be." And I'm standing there. I don't remember if I was mamish, gosh, was crying, but inside I remained a star. Like I'm standing there, I'm looking, and I reminded myself of the story that I heard from my Mendel. Mendel Fuss was for those that were involved in the escape of Chassidim, Russia. Many Chassidim were able to escape Russia because there was many Polish people that came into Russia. After the war, it's made up that the Polish citizens, many of them had passed away. Papers, and it was a whole thing of how to be able to escape from Russia with these false papers. And then Mendel was among those that was involved in this escape, getting passports, etc. At some point, he realized that he was being followed, and realized that it looked like they were onto the communists were onto him. And he didn't know, he thought maybe he should, like himself, leave. But he knew that if he would leave, that the island, there were others that would be able to help him. But he didn't know what to do. So he asked his mother, who was a special woman. So she said to him, Hezekiah, if you want to do what's going to be good for others, you should stay. If you should do what's best for you, you have to go. But what you should do, das cannot be done. That you. So he decided that he would stay, send his wife and his mother and his children to send out the next train, and he would stay to see to help others. And that's what happened. Failed. They left, and he was arrested. And for months, he was interrogated, tortured, not the communist way, but to do what they did. And months went by of non-stop interrogation, and from his point, non-stop focusing on making sure not to say a single thing that in some way might implicate another Yid. This went on for months, till they finally finished. Said, okay, that's it. No more. He was sent back to the cell. And for the first time, he was able to think himself about himself. He allowed himself to think about himself. This was like the Emer of Zion. And he's sitting there in his cell, and he's thinking, what's going on? What happened with his family? Were they able to leave? The time his wife wasn't well, what's he doing with her? Really, he's like what's going on? And he reminded himself something that he had heard from Elter Chassidim. This concept that's known as a pidyon b'machshava. Send a pidyon to the Rebbe, a letter to the Rebbe, by telepathy, the mind. He decided he had nothing else that he could possibly do. And so he sat down and he started to think his mind and imagine I was going to the mikveh. Pashut, you should understand who we're talking about. And so those that Rozecha to Sarah Bendel, Sarah Mendel, says in Kehemstach, Kochmas Adam Toyer, wisdom of a person illuminates his face. No, I say this, but I don't know, except for a Mendel, I never saw that. But at a Mendel, you looked at him, it was like he had a surah, a lichtik surah, a bright countenance. He was like unbelievable. So you should understand who this Mendel is, a Maisa like this. The Mendel, eventually he was sent to Siberia, and what happened in Siberia? So one was the job there. They would be in camps, and they would have to work was to saw down trees, and they would take these trees and cut off the branches, the huge logs. They would schlep on sleds in snow to the river, which was frozen over. There would be like a rafts, and they would pull these logs onto the rafts. Then in the spring, when the river thaw, the ice would thaw, they would float the rafts down to the mills where they would be turned into lumber. So Mendel, one time, it's like they were schlepping a log, one of these trees, onto a raft, and he got knocked by the tree over the raft into the river, through the ice, and with Nisim, they were able to schlep him out, and there was a fire there, warm him up, they saved his life. And he's laughing. Elach! He's laughing. He says, what are you laughing for? Elach. You wouldn't tell them. They thought he went crazy from the experience. And I laughed. Later he said, oh, why was laughing? He said, unter Zeyer Nezer, under the Roman noses, and I was able to. That's her mental. That was her. Kapara, he's sitting there in this cell. And he's thinking. So now he's going to the mikveh. He's coming back from sitting down. His hat, he's taking a pen, feather, he's writing a preaching on Rabbi. It's all in his mind. He asks for bracha for his wife. And he's taking, I imagine how he's taking it, putting it into an envelope, going to the post office, buying Kiloshena Arca, stamp, and puts a stamp on the envelope, puts it into the box, and next day he woke up and he reminded himself he did the night before. He felt like one hand was some Irish soul show that he made in his head. On the other hand, he felt that was different, better. Mendel's wife and family at the time were already in England. And the Rebbe, the Friedrich Rebbe, sent letters to Ivrei Idud Bracha, encouragement. One day he gets a letter, she gets a letter from the Rebbe. She opens up the letter. The letter is dated Yud Shvat Toshin Zayin. Saw a copy of the letter. My copy of the letter. Letter from the Friedrich Rebbe, dated Yud Shvat. Letter is not addressed to his wife, letter is addressed to him. It says, "B'mayna al hamivrak," in answer to telegram. In the Russell, or somebody wants to push me, crazy. It's not. I see the letter. I don't know what it meant. So first they thought that I got out of somewhere in Eastern Europe or somewhere. And they sent a telegram to the Rebbe and it was up. But then it turned out still in Russia, still in jail. But years later, when he came out of Russia, when she showed him this letter, was the day after he had some on that. This was Utasiya. The next day, the Rebbe sent back an answer to his opinion. I'm standing on the second floor of Chabad House in Amherst, and I'm remembering this story, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I was only a chassid. Because if I was a chassid, that's what I would do. Right now, what I would do is, I would send a pigeon to the Rebbe Atzileni, Rebbe Ratovich. Save me. You sent me here to make a Kiddush Hashem. It's going to be a Chilul Hashem. He said, make a Kiddush Lubavitch, it's going to be a Chilul Lubavitch. Rebbe save me. That's what I would do if I was a chassid. By this point, I said, and by now I already was Shabbos also. So like this, today, Sunday, it didn't start all that auspicious. Morning, I think 11 o'clock was the brunch. We were there. Balabatim were there. The press was there, but the caterer was. I thought I was. This was like a half hour of pure sheer terror until we realized that the caterer set up in the wrong. And, anyways, that was saved. It was like a fine brunch. And I got up, talking about it's going to be so, what wonderful what you did, and this. In my head, I'm thinking, and a couple of weeks, I'm going to see what I accomplished with 87 people, and that brunch is over. I'm going, walked from the hall where the commons were, walked together. I remember Adayema said, walk behind this building. Make a left turn into the plaza. And at the end of that plaza, one side, the house, the other side is the Fine Arts Center. Make the left turn to the plaza of the Fine Arts Center. This is I see a long and the ticket office, the buy ticket. There were over 1,000 people. And at that point, I discovered something about New England. But New England, the people, there's a different kind of mentality. Don't buy a ticket on Friday, on Sunday, when the rest of Mishnah could be or earthquake, hurricane, or a chvezras, and you buy a ticket for the concert. What are you going to do with it? So you wait. You want to go to a concert Sunday, you buy a ticket on Sunday. Anyways, because of over 1,000 people. That's one has. Other has you said that we on Shabbos or Sunday, did ever went into the head of 980 people and told them, extra year, over 1,000. It was unbelievable. I was like, it was my kindish spoilers, but I remember at one point I had to go down a flight of stairs. I had a flight of stairs, well, true. So instead of going down the flight of stairs, I went straight into the air, like, you know, and I fell and I broke my ankle and I didn't know about it until Tuesday. I found out that I had a fractured ankle. It was, you can't imagine, to give 1,000 people a letter from the Rebbe to them. What that means. It was beyond it was my Bubba was there by the concert. She went straight from there, straight to New York. That night, She went to Yechidus. Why? Because my sister was getting married. Those days, the Seder was that Pasul Kali would go to Yechidus together with her parents. Stayed as a couple. So she wanted to go into Yechidus with my sister and my parents. Yechidus, after it was finished, so my brother said to the Rebbe, ich komme jetzt from the concert in Amherst, coming up. The Rebbe, sat back and he started to ask my brother questions about what happened. I never asked if I expressed, but I made an appeal to a politician. All throughout the end, the Rebbe said, "Who mentioned this? How many people were there?" Said to the Rebbe, Ibertaste, over 1,000. So the Rebbe said, "What? Ibertaste, over 1,000? Unachten is Yisroel gewesen als Zemur Shcheira." Yesterday, Yisroel was so worried. They didn't realize what was going on. They figured, I had sent a letter to the Rebbe, but Shabbos, the rest of them worried. Like a couple of weeks later, after the Chasana, so I said, I knew that there was some kind of discussion about the concert. I asked my shwager, quote exactly what happened, what did they say. But he says to me, Unachten is Yisroel. So, I'm not bringing down myself in any way to Reb Mendel. There's no connection there. The Mendel's a Mendel. All I'm saying is like this. It's just one more proof. The Rebbe hot wood worship. The Rebbe loves us. And the Rebbe cares about it. The Rebbe is with us. And the Rebbe, it doesn't matter who we are. It doesn't matter what we are. It matters very much what we are. You have to be, what should my brother says, it's like nothing more than Rebbe's best. Rebbe has. Aber der Rebbe kommt das aus einer alleine besser. Der deserves a clean. We don't have to be a clean. It doesn't matter. As far as the Rebbe is concerned. L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech